My name's Steve and I love people who make things.
You might need to take off your trousers, and we see...
A number of times people have asked me to take off my trousers in a workshop hand. They sit at the heart of our communities, spreading wealth across the country.
I look forward to Mondays.
I love Mondays too.
And I'm going to die here. I'm never going to retire.
The isolation is great. No crowds apart from the tourists and sheep.
And the occasional podcaster like me. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
These are uncertain economic times. Keep our manufacturers alive and we'll thrive.
We all learn how to do everything here because there's so few of us left.
It is becoming a little harder to get young kids out of college that want to get their hands dirty and learn some of these very traditional art forms.
Join me as we compile a list of the greatest items made in the UK and hear stories from inside our factories.
My father has a phrase, he said, you should plan like you're going to live forever and live like you're going to die tomorrow, which I think is a very good way of looking at it.
We need you to live much longer than that, Martin. Welcome to the factory next door and welcome to Greenford in West London. We are on an industrial estate on the edge of the capital. We are not too far from North Holt Airfield, but we're not here for anything to do with aviation. Here for a very different form of transport. We're here to see a company that many of you have suggested, asked us to come along and visit. It's a company who makes a really iconic product sold right around the world. It is Brompton's folding bicycle. I'm going to pop into reception, introduce myself. Whilst I do that, have a listen to what's coming up on today's show.
Probably if you took the guy out of Back to the Future and the guy out of A Beautiful Mind and stuffed them together, you probably get Andrew. We've got 1.2 million bikes out there. We need to tell stories to bring people to cycling, particularly in cities.
Before you joined,
Yeah.
did you dream of making bicycles?
No.
So, hang on. You're running this company because a stranger chatted to you on a bus.
Yes.
Oh, look at that machine!
It's a beaut. So we are an engineering company that happens to make a bicycle. Do you actually know what you're doing?
Yeah.
The problems we face on the planet are global problems, and businesses tend to be global, so we're much better positioned to help. Will Butler-Adams, CEO of Brompton.
Okay, Will, where are we going?
So we happen to be in the factory, but there is more to this company than meets the eye. So we're going to go and look at some like nerdy techie stuff up the road to give you a sense of the stuff that has to go on before it even gets to the factory. And there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Like the factory is the top of the iceberg, and we're going to go and see the stuff under the water.
So I'm excited. I've arrived at a factory and you're telling me we're going elsewhere.
Yeah, well, people see the stuff being made, but to make the stuff that wants to be made requires quite a lot of thought, energy, effort, blind alleys, swear words, and investment. And you need to test and play and make mistakes. And we're going to the testy, play, make mistakes bit. So we're going to go on our bikes and do some precarious cycling with your microphone and go and see what's up.
I cannot wait to do some precarious cycling.
You usually go on this bike. Go on the G-line, it's a beast.
So this is your extra large version.
This is the full. I'm on the full Monty, full titanium, made in Sheffield, and you're on the G, which is the beast.
Did you say that one's made in Sheffield?
Yeah. So all the frame here, all the titanium work that we do, the frames are made in Sheffield. Now we are probably the largest titanium frame maker in Europe, and we started that 15 years ago. A few more swear words and blind alleys.
Okay, let's go.
So if you give that some welly, is it kicking in?
It is. See, it's got a battery on the front.
Yeah, which could also be a big bag. But the cool thing is, the more you push, the more it gives.
Yeah.
And the great
Look at that.
The world becomes flat on an electric bicycle because hills disappear. You just cruise up them.
How difficult was it to develop a battery-powered bicycle? Sounds to me like that would require a lot of R&D.
That requires a lot of swear words, blind alleys. So we spent 4 years with Williams F1. and we got a grant from the British government, and we effectively took technology, this is going back 15 years, out of the KERS system, kinetic energy recovery system inside an F1 car. And if you think about it, every F1 car has that technology in. And what it is you've got a dynamo stroke motor, which is super efficient, super light, and then you've got a battery pack, again it's inside the Formula One car, that's super efficient and super light. So what we wanted to do is take that technology and shrink it. And we spent 4 years, and to be fair to Williams, they took it on and they're like, oh, you know, we're making F1 cars, an electric drive for a bicycle, easy. 4 years in, maybe not so easy. It was really hard, getting the size right, heat dissipation, efficiency, performance, weight. And they eventually effectively handed over what was a masterpiece, but it was a little bit over-engineered, a little bit pricey, no surprise here coming out of F1. So it then took us a bit longer to turn it into a practical, bomb-proof, scalable, affordable thing. And that was sort of 10 years ago. And since then, we've been evolving, developing. And we are now, in fact, both of these are driven by our Emotique system, which is the absolute freaking most awesome drive system. Bomb-proof, smooth, invisible, glorious system. But it's taken a long time.
You're super proud of them, aren't you? I can tell.
They are good. Now, we've got to just see if we'll be allowed in.
Oh, Will has to ring the doorbell to be let in.
But you know, if you had a camera, we wouldn't allow you in. Good job we're doing a podcast. There's a secret squirrel stuff in here. Oh, it looks like no one is going to let us in. Oh no, hold on. I've been let in.
Oh, there you go.
It's good they've upgraded my
Let
car.
in. Excellent.
Morning, guys.
Oh, wow. Hi there.
So Andrew Ritchie was the inventor. A absolute genius of an engineer, and probably if you took the guy out of Back to the Future and the guy out of A Beautiful Mind and stuff them together, you probably get Andrew. I mean, proper genius.
What a combination.
Legend. He went to Cambridge, studied engineering, but unfortunately some of his early ideas didn't quite pull off. His friends invested in a plant business, the London Plant Company, that went bust. He did do a few bits and bobs of work, but by the time he started to keep telling his bosses they didn't know what they were doing, that didn't really last. And I think his dad was getting a bit exasperated. And his dad then heard of a guy who was developing a folding bike called a Bickerton. And he thought, oh, I've got to try and get my son into a normal 9-to-5 job. In those days, 9-to-5 was everything. And so he sent him off to go and meet the guys behind Bickerton. And of course, Andrew came back and said, I've seen this bike, but actually, I think I could do a much better job. It just made me think I could design a folding bike, and way better than this. And his dad's like, are you joking? I can't believe it. Now he's off again. And that was the beginning of Brompton. And Andrew rented a flat, which he still rents on the Cromwell Road, which overlooks the Brompton Oratory Church, just down from the V&A and just up from Harrods. And he still rents the same flat, and that's why the Brompton is called the Brompton. And it's hard to express what a monumental task it was, because he didn't just design the bike. As you've seen, a single human being designed the bike, but then designed all the jigs, fixtures, tooling to make it. He had no money, and that's an advantage, because when you have no money, you have to optimize your design. He thought it would take him 6 months to get the money, 40 grand. It took him 6 years. So actually, he didn't really get going until 1988. 13 years of knockbacks, being told it's never going to work, it's a silly idea. And then that was him starting really properly in 1988.
I mean, 13 years, you've got to really believe in something.
You have to be. Unbelievable tenacious. That success in 1988 was because one of the people who bought one of the very early Bromptons, a chap called Julian Verica, who was the founder of Name Audio, if you're into your audio systems, he was so frustrated that Andrew stopped making them. He was the guy that put the money in, not the banks, no one else. It was a customer who helped Andrew and put the money in. So,
what do we see here? I mean, wow.
what do we see here?
A lot of machines which I can tell are doing extraordinary, interesting things.
So, people think, particularly Brompton, because we love our Bromptons, we think of Brompton with emotion and friendship. All of that is true because we go on adventures, journeys, and the Brompton lasts a long time, so we grow to love it. But the reality is, if it breaks, if you're going down a hill at 30 miles an hour and your bike fails, the frame breaks, it is not a joke. It's not a toy. It's not some fun little thing. It's a serious piece of kit. And if we get it wrong, it could kill somebody. We've got 1.2 million bikes out there. Some of them are 20 years old, 30 years old, and we are still responsible for them. So to have that confidence requires deep, deep, deep engineering. And people say, oh, Brompton is a brand. Well, and people go, oh yeah, it's got a great logo, it's a great brand. Brand isn't logos, it's not fancy, quippy strap lines. It's this stuff. This is the brand because this is integrity. And really a brand is just trust. And if you sell something, it's easy to sell something, it's new, it's shiny, it's great. But the real test is when you've had it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, is it still delivering? And are they still looking after me?
So these machines here, they're basically just pummeling your frames.
To bits.
Yes.
Yes. So what actually, because we've got so many bikes out there, we know how they eventually fail. So we know at 30 years it fails, and this is where it fails, and it fails incrementally. So then what we do is we design and develop, which we've done over many, 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 many years, machines that create the same failure in the lab, but in an accelerated form. And that's what these are. But these are not off the shelf. We've developed these machines. So you think you've got to develop the bike, you've also got to develop the machines to develop the bike.
Oh my word, that's a lot of development.
This thing is another beast. We put massive weights on this thing and we rumble it down a road and, literally beat the thing until it dies.
But these weights, you hang these weights,
We hang these
like
weights.
a very, very heavy bag of shopping. On
like
the bike.
lead shopping. And we dangle it on the seat, the saddle, the cranks, and we just shake the thing until it dies.
So some bikes are being produced and some bikes will have a glorious life on the hills of, I don't know, Denmark, riding around in the glorious sunshine with a beautiful, loving owner, and some other poor bicycle gets
Short
put
life.
in that machine and battered
It's
up.
game over in 3 weeks. I did engineering at uni. I was working in Middlesbrough, running chemical plants. I was trying to go to INSEAD to do an MBA, was visiting London, sat next to a bloke in a bus when I was 27. The guy in the bus went to Cambridge with Andrew and was helping him with his what was a little business. This is in 2001. And he said to me, oh, you're an engineer. I got this friend making bikes. He needs someone just like you. Go and help him. I'm like, what? Anyway, an ordinary person would have just ignored that, gone back to Middlesbrough and carried on my life. But weirdly, I was slightly intrigued and thought, well, why not? So I then organised to come back all the way down to London, met Andrew, didn't know anything about the bike, never seen one before. And funny enough, even though I rode it around the car park, I don't remember being blown away by the bike. I was blown away by the fact that there was a business that was making stuff stuck in the 1940s. And I thought, wow, I can do stuff. It had a stock turn of 1. It was just so inefficient. Wow, I can definitely help this. And I thought, I'd do a couple of years. Even if it goes pear-shaped, it'll be a laugh. It's in London. But what happened was I then started using the bike living in London. And it changed my life. I suddenly became fit. I knew London better than most of my friends who'd been there for 7, 8 years. I met customers who had Bromptons. It changed their life. I was like, wow, this thing is insane. And it's addictive. You're involved in something that makes people happy. 25 years later, nearly, I'm still at it.
So, hang on. You're running this company because a stranger chatted to you on a bus?
Yes.
Hi, I want to jump in here and give a shout out to our show's partner, a company that has a long history of helping manufacturers optimize their operations. Aviva is a leader in industrial intelligence and was founded almost 50 years ago in Cambridge. Its software connects and empowers people to improve plant productivity, sustainability and business agility. And if you're interested in manufacturing, which I'm guessing you are if you're hanging out with me, Aviva's got a newsletter. please do sign up to it. Go to www.aveva.com/factory. I'll put the website in the show notes. My thanks to Aviva for supporting our manufacturers and our show.
So we are an engineering company that happens to make a bicycle. So we're not a bicycle company. It's very much an engineering company. The founder, Andrew, legend, mega inventor, mega brain, sort of more of a design engineer than I am, but very much an engineer, and my background was engineering. I'm not nearly as good as engineer as he is, but I care about using nature, which is really what engineering is, rules of nature, to design really elegant solutions that are useful. I mean, so much stuff we buy, we're persuaded we need it by all sorts of stuff, and then it's overpromised. Then we buy it, and then we think, why the hell did we buy this thing? It's crap. I never needed it in the first place. It's mad. And we all just think this is normal and it's fine. Right, here we are.
So we've come back. We walked through the reception. You probably heard us there, up the stairs, through the reception, through the office, and now we've come out into the main. Well, can I describe this as your main factory unit?
This is
big,
factory.
huge.
This is the mothership.
Huge factory, and we're on a mezzanine at the top actually, looking down on it, and I see rows and rows and rows of master craftsmen and women working away, piecing things together. The only exception to the rule is actually in the top left of this factory. There's a lot of boxes piled high.
Bits and bobs that come together to make a bicycle.
And I love the slogan printed on the side there for everyone to look up at. We create urban freedom for happier lives.
That is it. And it's sometimes a mistake that businesses think their job is to make money. And if you think that's your job in any business, who the hell wants to work for you? Because that sounds like a fairly uninspiring place to work. And if you're going to say to yourself, can you come and work for us so you can make the shareholders a bit richer? That doesn't sound like much to me. We are not on planet Earth for very long. I mean, life starts quite slowly and it just seems to go whizzing by faster and faster. And before you know it, it'll be game over. And we spend a lot of this at work. So without exception, we want to contribute in our life. We want our life to feel like it's been of value, that in our little time on planet Earth, we've done something positive for ourselves, for our family, for our friends. We want to feel like we've done something positive. And if business is not doing something positive, it's bad business. It's not right. And particularly in the world we live in today, business is a force for good. It has the potential to create wonderful outcomes for planet Earth and the people that live on it. And we're a little bike company. But since the get-go, we believed that cities should not be cluttered with cars. There should be more space for the people that live in them. They should be designed not around cars, but around people and human beings that live in cities. And when you're only travelling 4, 5, 6 miles, why don't you use the most efficient mode of transport ever invented, the humble bicycle?
Are there any decisions you can think of where you decided not to do something because you felt it was against that ethos that you've just described to me?
So, a long time ago, we were asked to work with one of these flying clubs where if you do enough air miles, you then get some sort of gold this and platinum that, and they want to do a global campaign with us, and they wanted me to say that I was some sort of platinum member, as a sort of spokesperson for this, and there was a huge amount of marketing all over these airports. But then we said, well, okay, that sounds great, but how many miles would I have to fly to become a platinum member? And it basically meant I basically spent every other day sitting in a plane whizzing around the world to sort of have totted up enough miles. I'm like, I cannot do that. It's one, I fly. It's taken me a long time to cycle to Japan, so I use an aeroplane. But they're a useful tool. But I try to use the right tool for the right job, and we had to just say no because it's just not true, and it's not what we're trying to achieve. I was fortunate that Andrew had created an incredibly useful product. He'd done the hard work in many respects. What I then had to do was to articulate and spread that word. And we were very lucky because there was like marketing didn't exist, no website. It was just unbelievably basic. But as I joined the company from about 2002 onwards, social media began to appear. And that was an absolute godsend for us, because for true brands, and actually you could even argue social media has gone past that period, but in the early days of social media, you got honesty. Fake news didn't really exist in the early days of social media. It was just truth. And because our product was actually very good, and because we did look after the customer, we didn't need to do much. Our customers started using social media to just augment their voice. And historically, you might have told your friends, your family, your colleagues at work. Now suddenly, someone was telling somebody in Germany or even Japan about this cool product.
Tell me about the markets. You talked there, you alluded to Germany and Japan, but I'm interested in how widespread Brompton has now become.
So when we were little, we were selling really in the Netherlands and Germany, and that was it. And this chap used to drop mushrooms off from the Netherlands, and he'd drop the mushrooms off, and then we'd get cheap couriers to put the bikes in the mushroom van, and he'd take it back to the Netherlands. And he was a huge truck driver, and he wore wooden clogs. I always remember it was the weirdest thing we've ever seen, driving a massive truck. Anyway, so we were not the distributor. We just literally made the bikes, and
then you hired the mushroom.
Mushroom chap
guy.
up. And then we began to export further afield, and we developed Japan. And Japan's a great place to start in Asia because they are so honourable, trusting. Even if you don't know what you're doing, they wouldn't take advantage of you. So you can make all your mistakes and they'll help you learn. And then we continue to grow across Europe and found some amazing distributors. And then America, but it was very friendly, beautiful people, and a much simpler business. But over time, that continued to grow until we were selling right across Europe, Mexico, Canada, the US, and then Japan moved into Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia. And then we began the next stage, which is where we started to take back distribution. Because what happened was it became increasingly confusing in a globalized world where our German, in fact, our Dutch distributor had different names for our bikes. And that taking back distribution, better understanding the international customers, then helped us continue to grow. So here we are. We make our frames. I mean, when we say we make our frames, we take bits of metal. I mean, literally, bits of metal, and every tiny little component comes together to make the frame. We have sub-assemblies, then the sub-assemblies go to final assemblies, and then you get the different frame parts.
You mentioned titanium earlier. What are we looking at here?
This is steel, and we have different grades of steel. We have chromoly steel, we have ERW steel, we have different types of steel depending on the application and what that piece of steel is doing on the bike.
What I love about these, so we've got a row, these are the back parts of the bike, aren't they?
Rear frame is what we call it,
Rear frame. What I love about the rear frame, which are part built now, is all of the colours you get from welding it together. It's not just a plain grey or a silver. You get blues, you get reds, you get oranges. Oh, yes. It's a thing of beauty.
It is, and it reflects the work that's gone into it. And actually, we don't weld, we braze. So
wrong terminology.
One of our team is just about to do a bit of brazing on the main frame. But when you braze, which is quite a lot harder than welding, so it's a 2 to 3 year apprenticeship to become a brazer. And if you look carefully, look at how the flame is moving and also the braze rod. The two are working in harmony.
What's the braze rod? Is that what I would just call as that thin piece of metal?
Yeah, the thin piece of metal. But the two, it's a real art. You don't just turn it on and go zzz. You're literally dancing. The flame is massaging and caressing the braze, and it really, really takes a lot of skill.
I mean,
And
it looks beautiful. Is there not a much easier way to do that, Will?
There is, you can weld it, but if you weld it, you put in more heat. If you put in more heat, you weaken the metal more, and you also create more distortion. So if you want something to go from good to awesome, this is the best way to do it. It creates a much tighter alignment on the frame, and it also puts less heat in, less shrinkage when it cools, which puts less stresses in the frame, which means you can have a lighter frame and a stronger frame and a more accurate frame by brazing. Very few people still do it.
So I got to say, I thought you would buy in wheels, Will. I really
no.
did thought you would buy in wheels. And there's a lady here, very skillfully, making it look very easy. I know it's not. Well, she's actually putting the spokes into a wheel.
Which is called lacing. And interesting, the machine is helping her. So that machine is actually called a cobot. It's co-helping her make the lacing. And then the cobot goes into a robot where no person is needed, which is where the machine is truing the wheel. And interestingly, the company that made these, when we first approached them about 12, 15 years ago, they only made machines for large wheel bikes, these machines. Small wheel bikes, for children's bikes, you don't need high quality wheels, they didn't make it. So we had to work with them to develop special machines for smaller wheeled bikes. So even with our supply chain, yes, it's a standard bit of kit, but it isn't actually a standard bit of kit. We've had to work with them to evolve it so it's perfect for the Brompton.
When you go to some of the companies you work with, do their hearts sink when you say, oh, listen, we need something from you, but it's going to be slightly different to what you make? And they're like, oh no, Will from Brompton's on the line again asking about something.
You know, we are very lucky that many of our suppliers own Bromptons. I mean, there's a lot of love for our little bicycle. And they know we care because we care. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, because you care about quality, people want to help.
Hi, my name's Leo and my dad is Steve, host of this show. I want to say thanks to everyone who follows The Factory Next Door. You are all lovely people. My dad says everyone who listens is a friend. A big shout out to those of you who have starred, rated or reviewed the show. I hope you get joy from this podcast. I get it from video games, but each their own. I'll let you get back to the show now. Bye!
Something that throughout the tour you touched on, and actually when we first sat down, you also touched on this. And it can be boiled down to societal responsibility. Where does that come from?
So it comes from a family and an upbringing where that is sort of expected. Not expected, it's not even, expected is the wrong word. Sort of it's bedded in. Certainly I feel it. And if we, the privileged, are not looking after others, the planet's buggered. Because if everybody, even those that are the lucky ones, are just looking after themselves, we're in trouble. And the interesting thing is, weirdly through this job, I have met many interesting people, from politicians to business leaders. And I would say, by and large, most people I've met, and people here, they care about their legacy. Legacy is, what impact have I had? Will my children be proud? Have I contributed? It doesn't matter how small it is, but have you tried to make the world a better place? And if all you care about is yourself and feathering your nest, well, you aren't going to have many friends, and people aren't going to be too many people doffing their cap when you go 6 foot under. And I think it's really important, and I do believe business has such a strong role to be part of the global challenges we face. And people often rely too much on politics, whereas I think business is a far more stronger advocate for solving many of the world's problems.
It's quite easy to abdicate responsibility onto politics, to say Westminster needs to do this, Westminster needs to do that.
They are so short term. They're here they come and go like days of the week. Business, we've been around 50 years. You know, we're global. We have friends all over the world. We're much more, you know, what's happening in politics is it's becoming more nationalist, whereas the problems we face on the planet are global problems, and businesses tend to be global. So we're much better positioned to help solve some of these problems.
Who's causing trouble? Would you mind doing a brief interview? I mean, okay. He's beginning to learn about the company. He's beginning to understand it's a bicycle that folds. Maybe you can expand.
Yeah, no, but
Calvin.
I've been here 21 years now.
21 years, still learning?
Still learning, yeah.
Ask his age, because we might get done for child labour. Okay. He was pretty young when he arrived.
I'm still young now,
What's kept you here so long?
I just like the environment and the people who keep me here. The job, it's stressful at sometimes, but I enjoy my work, so that's why I've been here this long.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Now then, be honest with me.
Yeah.
When before you joined,
yeah,
did you dream of making bicycles?
No. No. When I joined, I was working with my dad was doing building work, and then my auntie gave me a chance to come and work. She said, "Come and see Will." I came and see him. He said, "Have you ever seen this bike before?" I told him, "No." He's like, we're everywhere. And I said, I've never seen it. Gave me an interview. I went home and I was going Ealing Broadway, Ealing Broadway station, and I see this bike go over the bridge. And I said, isn't that Brompton?
It's a sign.
Yeah, that's a sign. I was like, October 2004. That was.
Have you seen some changes in Brompton over those years here then?
Yeah. Before we used to build a bike by ourselves. So we used to have all the parts come to us, and then we assemble the bike from scratch. Now it's a line, so it's a big change. It's gone. We moved from Cubridge, smaller factory, and now it's a bigger factory, as you can see. So yeah, there's a lot of changes in there.
Thanks for chatting to me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm going to show you one other thing. I am boring you with endless detail, but we make our.
That's where I find the love in the detail. Oh, look at that machine!
It's a beaut.
That is a beauty. Okay, so that's like extreme brazing. What is happening there?
So it is right at the heart of our bike. It's how we put the hinge onto the tube. So this is a front frame tube, and it's been sized and machined. How do we put the hinge on? It is very difficult, and it requires very tight tolerances because you're heating metal and cooling metal, and if you don't do that correctly, the crystalline structure goes funny, it goes brittle, and then it will break and hurt people. And you are right on the limit. So we're using an automated machine which we designed and made ourselves, and we make the bikes in London. But we could make the bikes in Shanghai, we could make them in, San Francisco, any other city. But the reason we are still making here is because there's a lot of know-how in the bike. You're getting a feel for how unique it is, how much specialness there is, and how much engineering thought goes into making this bike. Now, if we went to Taiwan, we could teach people how to make this bike, and they would learn. This is not patented, this is deep know-how. They would learn. The trouble is, everyone else makes their bikes in Taiwan. So within 2 or 3 years, all of our know-how would have seeped into everyone else. And suddenly we've lost things that we've spent years developing and our IP, intellectual property. So funnily enough, by making it in London, weirdly, we are protecting our know-how and intellectual property because no other nutters are making bikes in London. So it naturally protects us. So then in here we've got our electronics people who are complete sodding geniuses. So we used to just be a metal basher. And then until about 15 years ago, we went into software and electronics. So in our Emotique system, we have designed the circuit board. Carl might be down there.
Oh my word, look at this.
Look at this. I mean, this is out of my league. This is mega brain stuff.
Is this actually for Brompton, or is this just a pet project he's doing on the side?
No,
so the gentleman sat here with a load of circuit boards, wiring things up, and a load of equipment that I don't understand any of this, but it says laboratory on it, so I'm guessing it's extremely scientific.
Board, do you actually know what you're doing?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Can I ask, what are you doing?
So I'm characterizing the MOSFET, so looking at what their losses are, turn on, turn off. So it has a really big impact on EMC and losses itself, how hot, and the efficiency of the bike itself. So if we are running it hotter and we have more losses, then like your battery range, it will impact your range as well. So
I'm struggling. I'm so sorry. What is EMC?
It's like electromagnetic compatibility. It's like we have a standard basically, so we don't interfere with nearby radio equipment or things like that.
So you're working on making sure that the battery doesn't interfere with other wavelengths?
Yeah, it doesn't interfere, as well as I think finding a good mix where we have a good battery range. We don't have too much heating in the board as well, so it's like, yeah, we switch it slowly, not fast, where we have fast edges and then we cause interference. Like, yeah.
Bit by bit, what I'm learning is Will hasn't been lying, and actually this is an engineering company that makes bicycles, not a bicycle company.
Correct. Thank you.
What next for Brompton?
So we need to tell stories to bring people to cycling, particularly in cities. And that storytelling comes through us, through our customers. It's also influencing how we design our cities, how we develop our buildings, how we influence policy. But there is a long way yet to go of what a modern, sustainable, healthy city looks like. And we've made great strides, and I've spent most of my career cycling through cities all over the world, and they're in different places and in different stages all over the world. But we are not there yet.
I was going to finish this chat by asking, what does success look like for you? But I wonder whether that's actually what you're referring to.
Success for me is my dad's 87, still working. So if I'm 87, and when I say he's still working, we put that in large inverted commas, but he is still going to work, but on his own terms, and loves it. But if I am still doing stuff, if I'm on planet Earth in my 80s or 70s, it would be a great shame to see the business die. So I'm interested in being smart, recruiting brilliant people, caring about the structure of the business so that it's a sustainable business. Once I'm dead, I don't care. I'm dead. But for me, I'd be gutted if some greedy sod came along and screwed it all up, because that has happened to so many other great businesses.
Will, thank you so much for the chat. Thank you for what you're doing here. And let's keep our fingers crossed that no greedy sod comes to ruin this place.
Hope so.
Okay, so into our shed of greatness goes the folding bicycle by Brompton. Do you know, there's actually one in here already. I've had the pleasure of riding one for years. My thanks to Will and the team at Greenford for welcoming us in. And thanks for all of your comments following our bonus episode from Northampton. So many great reflections and thoughts. Before I sign off, special thanks to Tall Tales by Diana. Great name. And I'm hugely grateful for the coffees. They definitely help to keep this show on the road. So if you're up for it, let's meet again in 2 weeks' time. We're off to the world's oldest factory still in use, John Smedley's historic Lee Mills in Derbyshire. It is going to be beautiful. For now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're happy. Until next time, bye. A final shout out to our show's partner, Aviva, a company that has a long history of helping manufacturers optimise their operations. It's a leader in industrial intelligence and was founded almost 50 years ago in Cambridge. Its software connects and empowers people to improve plant productivity, sustainability and business agility. If you're interested in manufacturing, which I'm guessing you are if you're hanging out with me, Aviva's got a newsletter. Please do sign up to it. Go to www.aveva.com/factory. Just a reminder, I'll put the website in the show notes. My thanks to Aviva for supporting our manufacturers and for supporting our show.